So, you hear me?
Sounds good, Sunim. Good
All right.
morning.
Morning. Thank you. So, that we all pretty much in a certain way want to learn meditation, want to practice meditation, and then stick into a particular method and so on and so. So then, uh, even though that is somebody's preference, especially when it comes to Buddhist meditation, that we in different ways use the discourses of the Buddha or the teaching of the Buddha or the other teachers uh, in a way to explain this, how these ideas all help us improve ourselves, improve our mind. You see, there are various connection to this. You see, even though all I want is peace of mind and I just want to observe my breath or feeling or mindfulness or whatever we do. But there are other elements, which are not very clear to a lot of people. But in the Buddhism, the more we, especially, in my case, the more I look into these things, it is so amazing how all these are interrelated, you see. It's just like the life, you see. You may say, what all matters is love, so yeah, the love is matter. And then you may say, it's what all matters is having money. But, it can be love, it can be money. But when you have the money or when you have the love, you see there are many other things it needed to be supported. It's not just the love or just the money, there are many other things which stand helping these things. So those are all has to be managed. It's a lot of network there. You see, a lot of other hidden things there. You see, those things all we have to, in a certain way, understand and manage so that we can enjoy the love or we can enjoy the money. You see, just having the money itself doesn't make us much happy. We need to have other elements. In the same way, in this spiritual connection also, these things are explained like that. It's all dependent on another condition. So these are the things mostly explained in the Dharma, you see. So you all know this when it comes to religion, what we hear all the time, you have to have the faith, belief, the trust, or the confidence, and so on and so. It's a very important factor. Sometimes this so-called faith, belief, scare the hell out of some people. Oh, what I'm going to believe, I don't want, I don't want that kind of a thing. It scares people. So then, in the Buddhism also, we have this so-called faith. The Pali word is called Saddha. You see, this word, in many times, in many places, comes alone and many explanations are there. So then what this faith basically means, in a literal sense, whenever you quickly look at all these Buddhist traditional writing, you're going to see the Saddha, the faith means the faith in the Buddha, the faith in the teaching, faith in the Sangha kind of a thing, you see. That's a one explanation. But in another way, this word Saddha basically means it has two sections, two meanings to me, you see. The primary, the basic idea is called Saddha means, in my understanding of it, the intention to be good and to do good, you see. This is mostly, mostly mostly human beings have this intention to be good and to do good, you see. But it's very difficult to maintain and figure out what is good, what good we do, and how to be good, kind of a thing. And this is what when we look at life, you see, after we live certain time, certain years, and then later we have this desire, or this whatever, the tendency to be good and to do good and take care of the homeless, take care of the poor, to be a volunteer, to do something. We are driven to that, That seed is in all of us, to be good and to do good. But this also doesn't mean it is driven to some sort of activism, and you just lose yourself in this, whatever, the activism of being good and doing good. Sometimes we can see to be good and do good, when we take into a different level, that we are mostly fighting with everybody else, you see. That's not what here in this saddha quality, you see. This word this is how it in one place explained. Dassana kamo silavatang saddhammang sotu miccati vinaya machera malang save saddoti uchati. This word saddha is explained a tendency to association, a tendency to see and associate with healthy, good people, kind of. That is one first one. And then also the saddha quality means the tendency to learn, hear the good things, healthy things, which improve our life, you see. And then also it means a tendency to not to let greed, avarice take over our mind, you see. These three aspects explain what this saddha mind in Buddhism, you see. So then everybody has this, whatever, the tendency to associate with good people and so, you see. This association play a major role in our life, you see. Whether when we were children, it played a major role who we associated with. And even after we become adults, it still play a role in our life, who we associate with. You can see all these things on this real things, what you watch on the 48-hour mystery, or these murder cases. You see how sometimes the association has corrupted educated adults, people's minds also, you see. So that means that there is another aspect to this, you see. The association itself cannot make us good, you see. The Buddha says in one place, it's like a spoon that we use to make soup. And no matter how long or how we keep this spoon in the soup never going to taste, the spoon never going to taste the soup, No matter how long we keep the spoon in the soup, the spoon never going to taste the soup. Like that, people's minds, people tendencies, when are not right, no matter how good people they associate, they're not going to be better. They still goes along with their whatever the tendencies, you see. Sometimes we can see good parents have some crazy children, you see. And no matter how good these parents are, no matter how good these parents try to give them all the good environment and try to give them the support, but still they turn out to be somebody that bring the disgrace to the whole family, kind of a thing. So then when we investigate it, it was not a parent's failure, you see. That person had his own mentality, you see. He had his own particular tendency that was very strong, so that he went alone, that no matter what a good environments the parents have provided. So this is where that we come to say that is his karma, or that is what uh, he was built in. His karma, basically, good karma or the bad karma, that playing kind of a thing. So there is a particular mental state, a quality, you see, that goes along with you. That was much more strong, therefore he was following that direction, you see, no matter how many people advise him, guide him, helped him, but he turned out to be something. In some cases, these kind of, even though some people have that kind of bad intentions, the association, the help, the friends, the family can sometimes influence and get them out of that direction, you see. It happens if they also understand what's happening in their own mind, and if they control their own whatever the tendencies, that's possible, you see. Otherwise it's useless, you see. It doesn't work. So then this saddha quality, this faith, basically intention to be good, do good, is not a big stuff, It starts with our life, in our everyday life, you see. That we all are, no matter what our status are, who we are, that we all have a particular duty and obligation, you see. That we are bound to each other by duty and obligations, These duty and obligation should be understood, What is my duty and obligation as a mother, as a father, as a brother, as a sister, as a wife, as a husband, as a monk or a layperson, or what is my duty obligation? That has to be first thought about, you see. To some extent understand, you see. Just can't live saying, oh, I am free to do whatever I want to do, kind of. Of course, we have the freedom that we do what we want to do, but at the same time, we also have to know, it is also my freedom not to do certain things. And my duty and obligation should be understood in a simple way, and it should be followed. This tendency to be good basically means the tendency to fulfill your little duty and obligation, and maintain yourself within that framework, little duty and obligations, the simple things, we learn these things. We all the children are basically told these things. Plus, when we become an adult, also we also still have to take it something important, rather than, oh, these are useless kind of a thing. When we are young, healthy, and strong, this duty and obligation don't mean anything, you see. We basically try to avoid it. And then we find out when we get old and weak and sick. And when we sit in there, we find out because of our failure to do our duty and obligations, that we regret a lot. Remorse, regrets, guilty feeling chase after us like a huge mountain fire, and we cannot run away from it. It's constantly going to be there, you see. And then that can affect our whatever the inner peace and happiness. And then sometimes, we figure it out. Sometimes it causes weird behaviors, So then this intention to be good and to do good, tendency to be good and do good is nothing but our simple little duty, you see. This should be understood. When we keep living, doing that, it gives us some sort of a fulfillment, I achieve something, you see. And it makes us happy, you see, internally, you see. They are not big achievements, big goals in life, We basically don't pay much attention to this. We got much more bigger projects, bigger goals, bigger purposes is what we are focusing on. We can pursue it. Even though we achieve these big goals and purposes, still later on this kind of unhappiness, this guilt, remorse started to pop up because the basic things have been ignored, So then the saddha quality means that intention to be good and to do good in our normal duty, obligation related environment, and then having some sort of a satisfaction, fulfillment, and feeling good being who you are, you see, doing what you can do and finding it. That's the basic bottom line, you see. This is what in Buddhism this saddha quality means. Once we have that kind of a satisfaction, when we experience it, it encourages us to improve ourselves, develop ourselves based on that, because that satisfaction, that contentment, that happiness is not basically something that depend on something else. It is generated through my own behavior, through my own whatever the good tendency, and it feels good, And based on that, we begin to develop ourselves little by little, and that is when, in the Buddhist sense, that we come to this so-called spirituality, this practice, and so on and so, you see. It's like a basic investment for a bigger enterprise or business, you see. You have to have the basic investment, When you have, without that basic investment, you cannot get into business, So this is the basic investment. When we have that, and that prepares us on this line, you see. So then this saddha quality, when we have it, it's open our eyes, ears, and we get what we can get from outside, you see. That is what make you associating with the right people, learning the right things to improve yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, bring you into this kind of a path, you see. So then this saddha quality, when we have also, when we live like that, it naturally balances our inner desires, you see. Our greed, our strong attachment, these are all naturally managed through this whatever the saddha quality which work in our life, you see. It never lead us to be so greedy and to have this so-called avarice, possessed with all kind of a stuff kind of a mentality, you see. It brings some sort of a healthy mentality to you, see. And that is where all these good behaviors comes, And then when how you see this greed, this whatever the avarice is not increasing in you is that you have a little generous mind, A little generosity is there, you see. You work hard, you earn, and then also you are happy to give it little bit to a lesser fortunate, Give it to somebody who has less than you have, you see. There are so many around us. There are so many relatives, friends around. And when the opportunity comes, You are happy to share what you have with somebody, you see. It gives you such a fulfillment, even though you don't have much. But when you share a little bit what you have with the other, the feeling, the goodness that you feel, take care of a lot of your mental stress and the agonies that we usually go through, you see. It's such a healing thing, you see, being able to help somebody. It's such a healing thing, you see, when you share what you have with somebody else, you see. Without this kind of a practice, just trying to be spiritual, try to be enlightened doesn't work, because in our everyday life, how we conduct ourselves, what kind of attitudes we have, what kind of caring thoughts we have matters. We know it at the end of the day, when you are simply sitting alone, what make you feel good is all this kind of a behavior, you see. If you are greedy, still attached to so many things, want everything in the world, when this kind of thoughts are there, at the end of the day, you can't even feel like having a good night's sleep. Your body mind system think it is waste of time to sleep. I better go and try to make more kind of a thing. Time is money, need to go there and earn. And what for? Sometimes we know people don't live long enough to spend what they have earned, you see. We hear it in the news all the time, you see. Those millions that they so greedily, so attached to, they can't even use it. And then when you really look at their life, is so screwed up, unhappy, frustrated, being slave to all these, whatever the desires, life come to an end. So this saddha quality means the duty, obligation, fulfilling it in the right way. You can't do big things. The small things that you can do it and be happy about it. And when you have that kind of a mind, the vinaya, machera, malang, this inner greediness, this avarice is little by little out of our system. So this in the meditation, you see, that we have two words that you all are very well familiar with. It is called sampajanya and sati, awareness and mindfulness, you see. Awareness and the mindfulness that we try to develop it. It is not that we have it. The basic little form is there, but with the practice, we try to develop it. Then there is a question, you see, in one of the places in the teaching, kocha aharo asata asampajanas, you see. What is the nutriment or what is the special condition for lack of awareness and mindfulness? What is the special condition for lack of awareness and mindfulness? So now we are trying to develop awareness and the mindfulness. We know we have to develop it because we don't have enough of it. So then what is the special condition or the nutriment for lack of awareness and mindfulness? And then it says, ayoniso manasikaro. Unwisely reflection is the special condition for lack of awareness and the mindfulness. And also why we can't develop this, whatever the awareness and mindfulness, is due to unwisely reflection. This unwisely reflection, in some translation, it says weak attention. Weak attention is what I translate as unwisely reflection. So the unwisely reflection basically means whenever we reflect upon something, whatever the desires that we don't have begin to arise. Whatever the desires as human beings we have, they begin to become strong and increase. You see. Whatever the illusion and delusions we have, they increase. And all kind of illusions and delusions we don't have come into existence when we have the unwisely reflection or the weak attention. And you see how this is all related. And then Buddha says this unwisely reflection has a condition. It has a nutriment. What is the nutriment and special condition for the unwisely reflection? Asaddha. Asaddha means a lack of saddha quality. Lack of saddha quality keep this whatever the unwisely reflections. So you see how these are all interrelated. Unwisely reflection basically increases all kind of desires, all kind of hatred, all kind of illusion and delusion. What we don't have, this unwisely reflection bring it into existence. Whatever illusion, delusion, hatred we have, when we have the unwisely reflection, it become more strong. And why this process goes on? What feed it? What keep this thing going on? Asaddha. That means a lack of saddha quality. This is psychological, you see. This is how this inner personality character is constructed, you see. And we usually don't see much of it. So this is why this discussion of the Dhamma is important. And even though you usually see and read and hear, but you don't see this, whatever the connection is, this lack of saddha, how it play a major role down the road, you see. It's simply, I don't need this faith, saddha quality. All I need is peace of mind, and I need to meditate, and I need to focus. This is where we jump into, you see. It is just like, you're looking for a relationship, to find somebody to love. You are an adult, and then you go into whatever this dating site or wherever you put things, and you're looking for a compatible person. Now you're serious about finding somebody. But your seriousness doesn't mean you can stick or get along with this, whatever the person, when your personality character has all default. Doesn't know how to respect somebody, doesn't know how to share what you have with another person. When you have to help somebody, you're not there, you not feel comfortable. And all these things started to play a role, and then the result is the relationship has a short life. It doesn't last a couple of seasons. And then you're looking for another one and another one until you cannot search anymore, you see. So these are all going to play a role in our relationship, you see. We just can't put a nice dress and nice makeup and go and say, I look pretty. Doesn't work like that. Oh, I got a good job. There are a lot of people with good jobs, but with bad personalities. All these so-called mass murderers are sometimes have good jobs. We are very nicely. We have seen it. So when we really see, this has played a major role in our personality, character. It has come such a long way, you see. Just because I want to be happy, it's difficult unless we fix ourselves, you see. These things, when somebody else going to come and tell you, you're going to get mad, Don't wait until somebody else point it out, you see. You got to do little soul searching. You got to look at yourself, see where things have gone, what has happened. Is there anything here to fix? Let me fix myself in this way. My duty, my obligations. Getting a little bit greed and selfishness under control. These are all making you a happy person, develop your personality. And when you have that good personality and a happy mind, then whoever you meet, whoever come to your life, that you have a good way of getting along and making that relationship last a little longer, you see. It is not only relationship is going to go last longer, that also play a major role of maintaining your wisely reflection, you see. Even though you have anger, you have greed, that you manage it, rather than letting your greed, hatred, and delusion run over yourself. You see. Most of the time, we are run over by these things, and we don't realize it. We realize it later than too late. The train has gone. That is one aspect of this, whatever the saddha quality. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later, next Sunday. Let's meditate.